Welcome back to Blues Weekly. I'm Brooke Grimsley. It's been nearly 5 months, but the wait is finally over. Blues hockey is back, now 2+ years removed from their only Stanley Cup championship in 2019. The Blues have navigated through a transition phase during the offseason, bringing in some new additions like Pavel Buchnevich, Brandon Saad, and James Neal. Last night in the season opener in Colorado, we got to see the new Blues. The Avs coming into this game shorthanded, going with only 19 players due to injuries, COVID-19, a suspension, and cap constraints. Blues setting the tone early. Just 40 seconds in, Brayden Schenn and Kadri throw down the gloves. Kadri had a big hit on Justin Falk in Game 2 of the playoffs. Schenn sticking up for his teammate. That's a leader right there. And, of course, his teammates love it. It pays off later on. Jordan Kyrou finds a wide-open Justin Falk, and he fires a beautiful toe drag goal into the back of the net. That's sweet revenge for Falk. Blues get on the board 1-0. It stays that way until the second period. First a fight, and how about a goal from Brayden Schenn? Have a night. He makes it 2-0 there. He did leave the ice right after with what looked like a hand injury, but he would return later just in time to see his good friend and, of course, teammate David Perron do this with a rocket into the back of the net. He was a game-time decision earlier today, but David Perron was fantastic for them last night. He also puts another one into the back of the net. It's a good thing that he did play for them last night. But here's the thing. The Avalanche started to rally back. They changed their approach. 6-on-5 advantage here for Colorado, and Makar to Kadri in front of the net to Comfort, and he scores 4-3 Blues. Just one goal lead right now for them. But an overturned goal and another goal by the captain, Ryan O'Reilly, secures the first win of the season for the Blues. While it was a solid game, the Blues know that they need to work on something moving forward, and that is not letting games get away from them.
We kind of did that ourselves a little bit. I think we didn't execute perfectly on the power play that we had there, and kind of ended up taking a penalty and kind of snowballed from there. So I think it's on us guys that were out there to make better plays for sure, to not let it get there. They obviously had a pretty smart decision. Obviously got a lucky balance on that goal. The first goal they pulled their goalie, but it's still a smart decision to try something for them. They're down 4-1 with however minutes left, so good play by their coach.
Yeah, we had a good first period. We came out with some legs, some jump, and we know they like to start fast in this building, and they do a pretty good job of it. So we're pretty pleased to be in that position, but we let off the gas. I think we had a few mental errors there in the second period and allowed them to build some momentum. And then we came back and had a decent third at the beginning there, and then obviously they were able to get a couple bounces there and make the game a lot tighter than it should have been. That's something we'll learn from. It's early in the season, and it's not to make excuses, but no, it's a good reality check for us that we got to be mentally sharper for the full 60.
For more insight, we now bring in voice of the Blues, Chris Kerber, who is in Arizona as the team gets ready to face the Coyotes tomorrow. But first, Kerbs, we have to take it back to Colorado because that first game for the Blues last night, look, I know the Avs were a little shorthanded, but I liked how they looked there. What was your impression of the first game of the season?
Well, the Avs, Brooke, definitely were shorthanded, but I think that really played into the favor of the St. Louis Blues, and it did so in this way. They didn't have to deal with McKinnon. They didn't have to deal with Landeskog. They had Devon Taves that's injured. They had Nichushkin that was out of the lineup, and they also had Jack Johnson out due to COVID. And I think that kind of gave the Blues a little bit of extra freedom. You could make some mistakes against Colorado maybe that you couldn't make when those other guys are in the lineup. So I thought that played really well into the Blues' favor. I also thought we saw a really good brand of St. Louis Blues hockey. One line, rolling after the next, rolling after the next. Eventually, you did have to deal with a push by Colorado in the second period. Jordan Binnington was good. And then in the third period, Colorado got some fortunate bounces, and the Blues got a break on one goal being waved off. But all in all, I thought a really, really good opening night on the road.
Also, speaking of some of the Blues players, Brayden Schenn was one of the standout players last night, Curb, setting the tone really early on with a fight and a goal. Break down what you saw from him last night and the leadership that he just displayed out there on the ice.
Well, he said after the game, too, that this was something, Brooke, that he had thought about. And you see him going after Nazem Kadri. The reason he did that, it was Nazem Kadri that knocked Justin Falk out of the playoffs last year. Remember, and then Kadri got an 8-game suspension for that hit. Brayden Schenn is that type of player. We have seen him do this. We saw him do it on the night, after Bobby Plager's funeral. We have seen him do it on different nights for different players. He's kind of got a little bit of that Brian Sutter. I mean, he's willing to fight. He's also able to score, as we just saw there. He hurts his finger, During that shot, he goes to the bench. He comes back out a little later on. But Nazem Kadri took the brunt of it. You got to give him some credit, for fighting Braden Shen. But Braden Shen fought for his teammates. He stood up. And it's those kind of things that pull a team together. And Braden Shen was excellent last night. I mean, he was an assist away from a Gordie Howe hat trick. But a terrific game for him. You hear the comments from Justin Falk after the game, Brooke. You talk to other players as well. Those are the kind of things that pull a team together, that galvanize a team. And Braden Shen was a true leader last night.
And his teammate and close friend David Perron really shining as well on the ice. He was the Blues' leading scorer last season, and last night against the Avs, he scored twice, including the eventual winner.
Yeah, David Perron, who, by the way, we didn't know at the morning skate whether or not he'd play. He was going to be a game-time decision because of a nagging lower body injury. That shot he takes from the top of that circle is an absolute laser. And then he basically does it to the goaltender again later on in the game. Now, last season, David Perron had 58 points in 56 games. He's the first player to average more than a point per game since the Blues' Pavel Demitra did it back in 2002, 2003. So David Perron, unknown whether or not he was going to play until right at game time, comes in, has a terrific game. You saw the first shot. This one comes to him, same kind of angle, right on the face-off dot, inside the far post. Those are such amazingly hard saves for goaltenders to make over the pad and below the blocker. That's why you see so many goals go in that way in the National Hockey League. David Perron was just fantastic last night with that. Led the way with 2 goals, and as we saw, the Blues needed both of them. Didn't think they were going to, but in the end they did.
And also Jordan Binnington, pretty solid last night between the pipes, stopping 29 shots, including robbing Mikko Rantanen here in the third period. Now, Curbs, what did you think about that? I thought he was pretty impressive last night.
Listen, this save by Binnington, Rantanen one time, they can't believe he got it. He gets that glove over. His body moves and is stretched out in ways that I'm pretty sure just about every viewer watching this can't move their body like that. And he makes the save. The Blues had to really weather the storm, Brooke, in the second period. Colorado came out and outshot them. I think it was something like 16-5. And Jordan Binnington was the reason that the Blues took that lead into the third period. He then saved their bacon a couple of times in that third period. Now, I know later on, Colorado scrambles. They get a couple of goals in them, but it was just chaos, and you kind of understand sometimes how that happens. That is something the Blues can get cleaned up when they look at how they do their defensive coverage. But Jordan Binnington was just excellent last night. And maybe if the 2 goals don't go in late, you're looking at him being the number 1 star of the game. That's how good he was in that game.
And you already mentioned there, the Blues building up an early 4-1 lead, but the Avs started chipping away at that later on. A big key moment down the stretch, Tyson Jost looked to have scored, making it a 4-4 game, but that call was overturned. A lot of controversy on Twitter there, Curbs. What did you see from that?
Well, look, from our angle, the first thing that we look for is watch Jordan Binnington after this goal goes in. He looks back at the referee. The other thing look at is Ivan Barbashev right there on the doorstep is immediately pointing at the referee as well. And Ivan Barbashev is telling the coaches, review it. Now the coaches, Brooke, tell the players, look, if you see it, you got to let us know. Because sometimes you don't see a replay right away. It could be hard. The way that Jordan Binnington was adamant about it, the way, and you again, watch this again, you'll see Ivan Barbashev pointing right at saying no goal, no goal. Well, that helped them make the decision. Now, by the way, every goal that goes in is reviewed. So I think the league would have looked at this anyway. You haven't seen the goal go in off his foot in any one of those angles, but eventually there is a reverse angle that was shown in the arena and on TV that actually showed a distinct kicking motion by Jost, and they waved it off. I know Colorado's upset. Blues fans are happy. But at some point in time, you do have to define what that distinct kicking motion was. I thought the refs made the right call based on that. And again, there was only the one camera angle that actually showed that in a clear enough fashion for them to wave it off. So the Blues got fortunate, and then they were able to lock it down and get the empty net goal by Ryan O'Reilly.
Was there somebody else that maybe, of course, I already mentioned the big scorers there last night, but was there somebody else that just really stood out to you in that first game of the season for the Blues?
Yeah, there's actually 3 to me, Brooke. I think the first one, you really noticed a healthy Colton Parayko and what that meant to the St. Louis Blues. He and Marco Scandella played a really good game together, and I thought that was noticeable. Also defensively, I thought Justin Falk was fantastic. He looked like he did at the beginning of last season, too. He dominated. He was physical. He shot the puck. He made some great plays. So I thought Justin Falk was really, really good. And then the other one you've got to notice there, and I know he only played 9 minutes in the game, but that's Jake Neighbors, a 19-year-old that had, his mom, his dad, his stepmom, his stepdad at the arena, some other friends and family, making his National Hockey League debut. He learned a lot last year being around the club during training camp, and then he came in early to skate with guys. He spent some time at Braden Shen's house to learn even more what it was like to be a pro last season. And he came out, and honestly, he looked really solid. He played in the fourth line role. He checked, he could hit, he moved the puck. You saw his speed, you saw his hockey intelligence, which is one of the things that the Blues like a lot about him. And he came in as a player that did have the option, and still does, by the way, have the option to go back to junior hockey if the Blues do not want to burn this year of his contract eligibility. But he looked really solid, I think, in game number 1, and he's going to be fun to watch here over the next few days and see if he does officially secure a spot on this team throughout the season.